All good things must come to an end. It's a common phrase usually used to describe when the best things in life end in a less than ideal way. But is that really the case with Stone Ocean? Lately, a lot of people seem to say yes, Stone Ocean was an awful ending to the worst final part in anime history. Maybe you wouldn't go that far, but you might be teetering on that edge, and I find it's usually caused by a lack of understanding. To your average Joe walking down the street, the ending seemed like bullshit. Nobody could understand what in the world was going on because, oh yeah, the world was just suddenly accelerating? Like, where did that come from? It's an incredibly fast-paced ending to what I'll be the first to admit is an incredibly slow part to begin with. And yet, out of every single animated part in JoJo's, my favorite ending of them all has to be part 6. Forget Joseph defeating the ultimate fucking life form out of sheer luck alone. Forget Jotaro beating the shit out of Kira only for him to be ultimately defeated by a road vehicle. Quite frankly, I think parts 3 and 5 are complete bullshit. My guy Jotaro says one line and gets time stop out of nowhere. Diavolo doesn't get Requiem just because he is quote-unquote not worthy. Bullshit! No, I'll die on this hill. Correction, I'll die in this ocean before I concede that part 6 didn't have the best ending out of all the animated parts in JoJo's. And if you're still teetering on the edge, like, hey, Anzi boy, I just don't completely understand the ending. I'd like an explanation. Well, you came to the right place, Joe Swanson. Which you would have known already if you weren't illiterate! To fully explain the ending, however, we must first understand the beginning. England, 1868. No, I'm joking. I'm gonna be quick with this, I swear. We remember Dio, right? Right? So this basically all starts from Dio's lust for power. Dio's, immortal, and he's blessed with phenomenal intelligence. He was actually planning to graduate law school before he decided, fuck it, we reject humanity. He's ambitious, and with unlimited time on his hands, he's always self-improving, creating new techniques like Space Ripper Stingy Eyes or Vaporization Freezing, or working on his time stop to get it up to 5 seconds. Meanwhile, after a decade, Jotaro is still on 2. Needless to say, the guy is on the Sigma grind set, and so, to complete his ability and truly achieve what he set out to do, he writes in his diary, the Heaven Plan. Outlined in this plan is every single goal Pucci sets out to achieve in part 6. Pucci sets out to achieve this not only being Dio's bestie, or maybe a little more than that, but also because, after having been with Dio for so long, he believes firmly in Dio's ideologies and seeks to carry them out for the betterment of humanity. He believes firmly in the concept of fate, or gravity as he and Dio called it, because of the many unfortunate coincidences riddled throughout his life, like his sister and his lost brother falling in love, or him just so happening to be in the same confession booth as when his brother's illegitimate mother comes to confess she swapped her dead baby to his brother at birth, or have the private investigator he hired to break them up just so happen to be an avid member of the KKK. And so, believing in a singular timeline, a world where life is meaningless and you don't have free will, he believes only when humans can know their fates and accept them will they be truly happy. After all, if you know you only have one way to go, you may as well know where that is, right? One small issue with that plan, Jotaro unexpectedly kills Dio and burns his diary. Pucci, abusing his position as priest, decides not to diddle Kid, but rather to fiddle with their lives by setting them up to go to prison. That kid, of course, being Jolene. Jotaro, as planned, gets lured into the trap, and in a double whammy, Pucci not only gets vengeance on Dio by killing Jotaro, but also gets his memory disk, which contains the only living incarnation of Dio's diary. And so we go down the laundry list of the Heaven Plan. The souls of the 36 sinners Pucci gets in an epic 36-assisted killstreak victory royale in the maximum security ward with the Stand Survivor. The souls conglomerate together into trees? And lo and behold, the something new to be born is left in the roots of the trees as the green baby, a fusion of Dio's stand and, by relation his soul, along with the aforementioned 36 souls, with each one bearing a power of 10 degrees adding up to 360 degrees, a full turn around the clock. Pucci yoinks the green baby from Jolene and recites the 14 words, basically a password to let the baby trust Pucci and, in turn, merge with him. From there, the only thing left to do is to go 28 degrees 24 minutes north latitude, 80 degrees 36 minutes west longitude, corresponding to Cape Canaveral, where the gravitational conditions are ideal not only for launching rockets, but also for fucking with gravitational conditions. Getting closer, Pucci starts feeling the effects of Sea-Moon as it transforms, accidentally accelerating time as seen in the teasers in Batch 2. And yeah, it's not made in heaven yet. Some people claim it's just that Sea-Moon can accelerate time on a smaller scale because gravity affects time, like scientifically. but to me it just sounds like Araki was too early on the foreshadowing trigger and just didn't plan to have a stand in between White Stick and Made in Heaven. Regardless, once he's made it to the coordinates, he obtains Sea Moon in its fully fleshed out form, and, without the new moon, uses Sea Moon's gravitational powers to create conditions about the same as a new moon, such that the conditions for heaven are reached. And so, we're finally here. The ending of Stone Ocean. The time for heaven. Pucci hops on the space shuttle and, having completed the heaven plan, attains Made in Heaven. Next, we see the main cast suddenly 200 meters away from the shuttle, which is never really explained. I'd like to imagine Pucci pulled another trick from Dio and carried them all one by one during his accelerated time to another spot just for the meme. Who knows? Then Jotaro panics about how Pucci was able to see his movements during his time stop, which is also never thoroughly explained, which would lead many to believe it's an ass pull. I've done a lot of research into the question myself and have come up with nothing solid. Some people claim it's because gravity can manipulate time, again the case with Sea Moon supposedly being able to accelerate time at a smaller scale. But even if he was going 1 billion times faster, when Jotaro stops time, Jotaro stops time. I'm sure we can all agree that 1 billion times 0 is still 0. Another theory is that the green baby, as described above, is indeed Dio's stand, the world. So supposedly, if the green baby was to fuse with Whitesnake, it would create something that could have a few semblances to the world, like time stop resistance. It's never said for sure, maybe because Araki took it back for having been too OP for the final fight. Anyways, the Stone Ocean makes a commotion about time acceleration, and Hermes gets bonked in the head with a rock before Anasui can even warn her about it, which really shouldn't be as funny as it is to me. I think we all have a pretty good grasp on how Made in Heaven works, but just to keep us all on the same page, Made in Heaven accelerates time. Exponentially. In about the course of a real-world half hour, Pucci goes from an acceleration of 30 times to so incredibly fast that he reaches the end of the universe, billions of years ahead. In time acceleration, living things are completely unaffected, but non-living things go ridiculously fast. The one exception to this rule, of course, is the user, who is basically counted here as a non-living thing. With that in mind, the next few minutes going around the world seeing how time acceleration affects everybody all make complete sense, so we're gonna skip around here for a little. Eventually, Jotaro tries murking him with a quick time stop, but quickly realizes that his time stop is suddenly shortened. This sort of makes sense since time is being accelerated, but there's also, 1, the fact that Star Platinum is counted as a living thing, at least since it's definitely not going, oh, so it's the same type of stand as Star Platinum, and fucking yoinking Pucci out of the air and beating him down at light speed. And 2, time stop, again, is stopping time. It doesn't matter how fast time is going, once time is stopped, time is stopped. Again, 1 billion times 0 is 0. So personally, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But whatever. It's JoJo's, it's not really supposed to make sense. Speaking of not making sense, Anasui in the middle of the fight, to end all fights, decides to take a good minute or so to try to get Jotaro's permission to marry Jolene, which completely backfires with a simple, have you lost your mind? On my first read and first 2 watches, it sounded like complete buffoonery to me as well, but then you think about it more and, dude, this guy knows it's over for him. That's how dire the situation is. Never in all of JoJo's has somebody tried something so life-changing mid-fight, because he almost knows. If he doesn't do it now, he probably never will. Jolene gives him a little of what he wanted by leaning on him, and Jotaro, maybe realizing these are his final moments too, hugs Jolene and shows affection for the first and last time in the entire series. Hermes uses her stand for the last time by duplicating a bullet, which means that when the sticker is pulled off, you can travel the same speed as the bullet just by holding onto it as it tries to merge with the clone. And so they go towards the ocean, where the waves that Pucci makes will make it much easier to see his direction. The final plan, thus, is in place. Anasui puts Diver down in each and every one of the casts so that he'll absorb any damage that any of them take. Once Anasui gets hit, he gives the signal through Diver down to Jotaro to stop time, because then Pucci will be within range. At this very moment, Jotaro has to kill him. At this very moment, the only possible way that they can survive is if Jotaro lands a decisive blow mid-time stop. Any other attack, Pucci will dodge with ease, and if Jotaro wastes his time stop, Pucci will be in range to attack all of them. Meanwhile, they're all defenseless with Jotaro on cooldown. Jolene accepts Anasui's plan and gives them some peace before his sacrifice. If they make it out of there alive, she'll marry him. Oh, the closure. Some goobers on a news channel, in the middle of all this, break a glass cup on live television. Meanwhile, Rohan Kashibe is somehow not being accelerated? Something to do with Heaven's Door, though fuck me if Kishibe Rohan suddenly decided to kill 36 people and travel to Cape Canaveral for a Heaven stand. Sounds more like an asspull from Araki, or, you know, Heaven's Door just has the ability to write on the user, "You can accelerate time." And oh boy, would you look at that, Rohan Kishibe is suddenly the strongest character in all of JoJo. Back in the ocean, Jolene and Hermes get ready for the decisive blow, and summon both their stands. Anasui is hit. Time stops. Jotaro is about to 7-page Steely Dan beat down this motherfucker, grabs his stand's arm, and the guy couldn't recognize his daughter's stand's own arm. Something you only really realize on rewatch, if Jolene and Hermes just didn't take their stands out, none of this would have happened. Like, they didn't even need them in the first place, they weren't part of the plan. Regardless, Jotaro realizes he's a step behind, he sees Pucci behind her. Knives. Beautiful. Beautiful way to go out. After all this, Jotaro's got a split-second decision to make, and after everything we've seen from him in the anime, he goes from being introduced by calling his mom a bitch, to ending the universe to save his daughter. Time runs out after Jotaro saves Jolene. The fight is lost. Anasui's first out, then Hermes, then Jotaro, in a split second it's all over. Or is it? In toying with Emporio, Pucci forgets about Jolene, who manages to get a knife in from under. And then, she and Emporio hitch a ride on the one thing faster than Pucci, dolphins. But Jolene has the birthmark. No matter where she goes, Pucci will find her. Jolene sacrifices herself for Emporio, holding Pucci off. Emporio makes it to the new universe. And this is where things really start to ramp up in confusion. Emporio's back to where Jotaro and Jolene first met in part 6, except both of them look like knockoff figurines straight out of the dollar store. Pucci sucker punches this Cool Joe looking motherfucker, which basically proves to us that neither of them have a stand to defend themselves with. Neither of them actually pose any threat to Pucci whatsoever. Pucci explains that all their souls have been erased and that the goofy Chinatown handbag looking goobers are all just placeholders, posers. In this world, since everybody's already experienced the previous world, everybody knows their own fate. They can't see the future, they can't change their futures. They can just tell, in their souls, what the future holds for them. But, for example, the guards know they're going to trip if they continue running in the direction they're running, and yet they still run. Emporio knows going into his room will corner him, give Pucci what he wants, and yet, even after trying to go another way, he slips on a broom and falls towards the room, cornered with no other choice but to go in. So, in effect, Pucci has put all of humanity into a prison of fate, knowing where they're going and yet being unable to change anything. Viewing your entire life, not as a video game, but as a movie. Trapped watching a movie from your own eyes. I don't think any other JoJo villain has had a worse plan. There's just one exception to the rule of fate, and that's, of course, Enrico Pucci. As a user of Made in Heaven, he doesn't actually know his own fate, and so he's the only one left with free will. He's cornered Emporio, there's nowhere left to go but into his room where he'll be helplessly cornered and helplessly die. And then, all of a sudden, Emporio lets Pucci change his fate by making him insert Weather Report's disc as he tries to punch him through the slit of the room. In a literal fucking twist of fate, Emporio kills Pucci with 100% pure oxygen, and the universe resets one last time. Emporio meets with the cast of the Irene-verse. Irene, Anarchus, Eldis, and an unnamed hitchhiker bearing striking resemblance to Weather Report. What happened? It's quite simple, really. Actually, Pucci explains it better than me this time. As he says right before his death, what it boils down to is that once Pucci dies, the universe gets reset to a world where Pucci never existed in the first place. His soul is erased, just like what he did to Jolene and the others a universe prior. Part 6 comes to a close in a universe where Part 6 never happened in the first place. Without Enrico Pucci, Jolene and Weather never go to prison, and it looks like Hermes and Anasui get a pass too. And the universe comes to a close as it began, with the iconic Yes hit single, Roundabout. Yep. Roundabout. I was going to expand on some bigger questions Yanning raises that I saw on Reddit the other day. There's a whole laundry list of discussion questions like what Giorno was doing during all of this, if SBR had anything to do with this, or what Emporio would do after being the last human being to remember any of all of this. But we're already nearing, 15, 18 minutes now? So we'll save it for another time. All good things must come to an end. If you didn't like how quickly this thing ended, maybe give me a like, a sub, or even a comment about another question you had that I might just explain in the next video. I'll try my best to answer them, but the beauty of the ending is that it seems like there isn't a concrete answer to a lot of them. Stay heavenly, folks. Sayonara.